7 and welcome to your next lesson on still life. Today you're going to be needing a rubber, a pencil and a pen. This is actually a pencil as well, it may look like a pen but it is a pencil. And you'll need a piece of A5 paper, so the same size as your sketchbook. It doesn't matter what way around your sketchbook is today or your piece of paper, as long as you can fit at least 2 drawings on there, and I'll explain in a little bit what you're going to be doing today. Right, so I am going to draw landscape just for sake of ease so you can see the paper in the camera. And today we are going to be drawing biscuits. So we're carrying on looking at Joelle Penkman, and we are looking at how she draws food in a realistic manner. And we're going to be doing 2 drawings. One is going to be from secondary observation, so looking at an image, and the second one is either going to be secondary or primary observation, so you can choose between looking at an image provided to you on the PowerPoint, or you can find a biscuit in your house and you can draw that instead. But I'm going to be talking you through how to draw the first biscuit, which will be the digestive one on your PowerPoint. So I'm going to take my pencil, and the first thing I'm going to draw is the outline of the biscuit, and that's going to be a circular shape. And I'm just going to find a place on my sketchbook, it's not on my page, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to use light, quick, sketchy lines. I'm going to use my wrist to help, and I'm just going to draw a circle. It's not going to be a perfect circle, and that is fine. Slightly, you're going to move your page around with you, that's going to make it a bit easier. And it might be that you have to do this a few times and maybe start and then go round. But light, sketchy lines. Don't put too much pressure, because if you need to rub something out, you'll leave an indent behind, and you don't want that. It'll make your drawing look quite messy. Put a light sketchy outline, like so. What you can also do is, if you have something around you, you can trace around that. So maybe the lid of a candle or the bottom of a glass. If you think that's going to be slightly easier, you can do that instead. That's okay. So now I've got my outline. I'm looking at my image, and you should have your image open as well. And I'm looking at my image, I'm seeing what's there. And what I'm going to do now is just going to sketch in. This isn't going to be the final position, I don't think. I'm just going to sketch in the shape the text takes. So if I look at the bottom of this, I suppose it would be the brand, it says the original. It's kind of on a curved kind of wave. So I'm just going to sketch that in, so I know I need to follow that when it comes to adding my the type or the words in a minute. And then McVitie's is along a straight line, so I'm going to just sketch that in. And then the wheat is just above the McVitie's, and that is a slight curve as well. So this is so I know where things are going to go and I can position them. I'm actually going to bring this line a bit further down, because if I look at my image, it isn't too close to the top. So always look at your image and just gently sketch lines where you think everything's going to go. So from there, I'm going to start writing in my typeface or the font. I'm not looking for it to be perfect at the moment, just a vague idea of the size and the placement, everything needs to be. Doing light sketchy lines, making sure I'm looking at the words and not guessing how they're spelt. Just seeing that I'm getting my placement correct. It might be that I've decided that this is too big in a minute and I might need to size it down, but I know that it's all in the right place. So I'm quite happy with the placement. I might in a minute, when it comes to it, make it a bit smaller, so I might actually just draw a line here and make sure everything hits below this top line. And actually, whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to do a second line, just not too far off this one, and kind of curve that around and making sure that all my type fits in this as well, so it's the right size. So it's right in that. Might need to space that out a bit, and then the original bit as well. So looking at my image, seeing how things are spaced. Things may change when I get to adding my tone, and that's fine. So I'm quite happy with that. So what I can do with this bit is I can just very lightly try and rub out those guiding lines I've drawn. Just very lightly, so you don't lose too much detail in the text. So I can just go back in and add that. And then for the wheat, what I'm going to do, I've drawn this line which is at a slight curve but isn't too dramatic. What I'm going to do at the end, each end, I'm going to see where it hits in comparison to the letter on the image. So this end is just above the top of the M. I'm going to do a triangle. Still quite light, a bit more pressure, but I'm not pressing down too hard. And at the top, it's just at the end of the E. This time I'm going to start with a triangle. It's more of a diamond shape, I guess. So I'm going to do that. Maybe you need to make it a little bit smaller. If your pencil is sharp, that's going to really help you with this bit, because it's quite a few small fiddly details. And then between here and here, there are 4 more kind of triangle shapes, so I'm just going to draw those in. The third one's more of a diamond shape, as is the last one. It might be that I need to redo these again. This is about figuring out the placement and checking everything's right to begin with, instead of going straight in and making a couple of mistakes and having to start over. There's only 3 on this side. I'm going to lightly sketch those in, and I'm going to take that centre line out because it doesn't appear. I'm going to accidentally take out some of my actual drawing. Let's try and not do that. That's slightly better. There you go. So we've got the outline for the logo and the text. I'm just going to edit this text like I said earlier. Let's draw another line. I'm happy with the M, I just want everything else to be slightly smaller and in line with the actual image I'm drawing off. You can always use a ruler if you want to get your sizing correct. But I'm immediately happier with how that's looking. Don't forget your apostrophe, because it belongs to them. So it belongs to somebody, it's always got an apostrophe. If you're saying kind of, that's McVitie's biscuits, or that's Grace's, it's Grace's pen, it's got an apostrophe on it. And I don't mean apostrophe. No, I do mean apostrophe, it's fine. Tell I'm an art teacher, not an English teacher. Right, okay, so now you've got your outline, we're going to start adding our shade in a second. Right, so we're going to start adding our shade now. I'm going to use a biro. You can use a pencil if you're not quite confident enough to use a pen. That's fine, you can use your pencil and carry on with that. And I am going to start with my darks first. So I'm going to start with my shadows. And I'm going to be using, to clear off my page, I'm going to be hatching. So I'm going to be doing individual lines and I'm going to curve them. And the reason I'm curving them is because when you're drawing which my pen works, what should be a 3D object, to make it look more realistic, if you curve your lines like I'm doing now, it helps give that illusion. It might mean that you need to go in different directions as you curve and layer them up, but this will help make your drawing look slightly more realistic and slightly more 3D. So you're going to work from your dark to your lights like you would normally. You're just going to build up your detail. Try and get it look as really close to the image as you possibly can. Feel free to move your page around if it's going to be easier for you to achieve some details. Get your darks in first. And then you move on to your mid-tones, so it's less pressure. If you're hatching, you might want to get your lines slightly further apart. And that sort of thing. Right, I'm going to speed up this video a bit more and I'll come back to you when it comes to the text. So before I carry on adding a bit more tone, I'm just going to now put in the text. And because it's almost kind of stamped in, it appears dark on the image. So I'm going to go in with quite a bit of pressure. Looking at my image, some areas are darker than others, so I'm going to put less pressure in some areas and more in others. The sea is quite dark and quite small. And then there's also a little squiggle, like is the best word for it, underneath. So the text isn't perfect, and that's going to be because of the way it's been stamped in, and then as it's baked, some of the definition will have disappeared. So it isn't going to be straight and perfect. Kind of almost a bit like bubble writing, but we're just going to show that thickness by going over some of our lines a few times. And the same for the original section as well. End's a bit weird on that, so that's okay. And the A, this side here I'm drawing now, that's a bit light, and then this side's a bit darker. And the L's a bit thicker in places as well. So another way to highlight this is indented is to, again, add some more tone and then curve it. So I'm pressing really lightly now. Just on the edges of some of my text. To kind of give that impression that it's kind of within the biscuit, it's kind of indented slightly. Some of them it's got like a bit of a darker shadow. Just having a quick go. Here it seems to be a bit more indented in a different, like the shading appears to be in a slightly different direction. Same with the S. Bit of shading around the letters. The T shading then kind of comes down almost to the other text, and I can just add some more details over here. And from there I can carry on building up the shape and the texture. So quickly before we move on, I'm going to do the same for the wheat. The ear, I think it's called an ear. So here there's certain sections that are dark and slightly more in shadow. Just going to make sure I do those. Make sure I'm looking at my image all the time. This one's quite dark here, so I'm going to shade that all in. This one's got different shades, and so we're using different pressures. We're going from dark to light. Same with the top, I might need to move this up a bit. That's okay. I'm going to go dark to light, like so. Should I keep that shape, so I might need to outline it a bit more. Same here, might need to outline. Not on this edge or this side, you can't really see the detail quite as well. So that not the whole thing doesn't need to be shaded, just sections. Apart from the top one, which has got to be, top is darker and then it goes lighter. The technical word for that, if you remember, is highlight. So you've got your shadows and your highlights. So once you've done your text, you're going to want to carry on just making it look like it's a bit more indented, kind of it's been stabbed in. You'll see that I've drawn these black dots in. That's also shown on my image. So I'm just going to go over, just look at my image, see if I need to add any more of these indents or these kind of contour lines, which you might recognise from makeup. It's how you make kind of your cheekbones stand out a bit more. That's the same kind of idea that we use here. I'm missing some those black dots, so I can just add those as I go in. It's kind of interesting to try and get all the shapes and textures. So it might need me being there. Some areas that you've got kind of little to no texture, but then in other areas you need to add some more lines that go in different directions, slightly rougher. You might want to scribble in some sections, like over here, just to make this whole stand out a bit more. I want to add a bit of scribble. Same under the A in original. I'm going to add a bit more detail into that. So I'm using hatching and I'm doing a little bit of scribbling as well. Make sure the whole of my outline is in pen, so it's going over my pencil. Don't forget, if you don't have to do this in pen, you can do it in pencil. Just for the sake of ease, of you mainly being able to see what I'm doing. I've just decided to do this in pen, but if you're confident to do it in pen, please go ahead. I want to be able to see you guys push yourselves and see what you guys can do. And don't forget, these are going to go into our books once we return to school. And then will give us the basis of being able to do some kind of interesting paintings as well when we return. Right, so I'm adding a bit more texture. I'm being slightly more scribbly now with it. Just trying to imitate what I can see on my image. I'm just going over some of my darks again just to make sure. And once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to stop playing around for a second and take a look at it. So a bit more tone needs to go in here, get some more of my mid-tones in. Doing a mix of hatching, cross-hatching and scribbling. I'll highlight these as well. And then, a way to make a 3D object look even more, or like a 2D drawing or a 3D object look more, you can add kind of a shadow, and that gives you more of an illusion. So what I'm going to do is, and you'll see this quite a lot in project design, is I'm just going to very lightly, just at the base of my biscuit, draw a shadow like so. And that just gives it the illusion or the idea that this is now a 3D object, or is based off a 3D object. Right, and that is your first drawing done for the lesson. And that is your secondary observation of a biscuit.